Hi, welcome to class. It is November 10th. What we discussed in class today is just a quick reminder. Don't forget about your quote of the days. And I talked about we are slowly approaching the end of the grading period, which is nuts. But please double check and scroll through other previous assignments to make sure you have them done. You can turn things in and still receive full credit. Just double check to make sure some of your stuff is turned in and not missing. Today in class, we mixed things up a little bit. We did what is called early trade notes. So if you please look at that, there are 3 documents that you use. For the notes, what we did for that, I read the slideshow and there's fill in the blank. And I told everyone you can delete the lines if you want to make spacing easier for you. But going through that PowerPoint, let me click on this so you can read with me. So in class today, we talked about, it was a big review to discuss how trading in Africa was really important to them. So the first blank, we talked about that trading began way back when. So the first blank should be as early as 750 BC. This was called the Trans-Saharan trade. That route was extremely important. So again, on your Google Doc, you should fill in the first blank, which is as early as 750 BC. And let me. So the Sahara Desert, what does it look like? We kind of talked about how it's super hot and dry, and these are modern day pictures. It's the largest desert in the world. That trading must have been really valuable and important for people to cross this, because no one in their right mind would want to cross a desert that was this huge, big, and scary. And even looking at this map from a satellite image, that this whitish brown area is how big that desert area really was. And that's huge. And the biggest thing that helped them, which we take advantage of now, is camels. That figuring out that camels can adapt well to deserts. They can walk, they have lots of water storage, they don't need a lot of water to survive. And they can carry a lot more weight than a horse can. So that allowed them to travel. So your second blank where it says, because of difficult landscape, traders often banded together to form caravans. So that is your second blank. So caravans. Caravans are kind of these pictures where people would travel together. That is called a caravan. And the reason for that, it helped people because then they'd have multiple camels. So one person would be in charge of food, one person would be in charge of water, one person's in charge of navigating. It made it real easy. So again, your second blank would be caravans. The first traders, their name, so this is your third blank, is called Berbers. The first traders were called Berbers, which were people from the West Nile River, so more towards Egypt, wanting to travel with, Southwest Africa. The fourth blank, every person they came in contact with, they wanted to convert them to Islam. So that is your fourth blank. That Islam, so going on to Islam was really important because not only is it just a religion, but it spread literacy, which allowed people the ability to be able to read and write, which that was huge because back in that time period, not many people could read and write. So spreading that religion also gave people education. It also spread the language that even today, most countries in Africa speak a little bit of Arabic because the Quran, which is a version of their Bible, if you want to compare it to that in the Islamic faith, is written in Arabic. And then also the laws, so the government, that Muslims had a very strict Islamic law. So many of these countries, when they converted to Islam, it was much more peaceful with their government because everyone agreed in the same laws. So the next blank, where it says blank was established as a trading city, you are going to write Timbuktu. Timbuktu was the first major trading city. And for the next blank where it says city in the modern day country of Mali. So Timbuktu was a major city in Mali. And notice all these red lines are trade routes of how important, probably because West Africa had rivers, because you're going to need water. In the background is my dog. I apologize. She is not feeling well. And this is a modern day photo of Timbuktu, that it is still a very important city that does lots of trading, even now. So what was traded? So your next blank where it says common goods traded across the Sahara Desert included. So your first blank is going to be gold. Your second blank will be salt. And please keep in mind, salt is not important because of flavor. Okay, they did not use it for flavor. They used it because living in a desert, you need to refrigerate your meat. They didn't have electricity or refrigerator, so they used salt to preserve their meat. Copper is your third blank. Copper is very important because it's an easier metal to manipulate and bend, which allows you to make swords, armor, jewelry. So copper is going to be very valuable for a very long time. Spices, which sounds like it means, it does add the flavor to food, but they also use spices for a lot of medical reasons. Even today, that a lot of antibiotics or different types of vitamins usually contain a little bit of spices in them, like cinnamon. West Africa was kind of ahead of its time for that. And then we had ivory, which is still sad even today. It's pulled from elephants, their tusks, which now most countries in Africa ban it because we're running out of elephants. But ivory comes from their tusks of elephants, which can be manipulated for jewelry. It was a big sign of wealth. And then cowrie shells, which today, and this is a picture of cowrie shells, we have abundance of these, but back then they did not. So actually, believe it or not, cowrie shells could become more valuable than gold. And then your last blank, although it has been around for centuries, slavery, unfortunately, was also unfortunately traded. That they estimated around 9 million Africans made it across Sahara into slavery. The last two blanks on your sheet, you do not have to worry about. I do not have it on the slideshow, but you should have the rest of these filled out. Again, go back through the slideshow yourself if I went too quick or hit pause. Now, the very bottom of this page, what you are doing, let me erase this. So it should say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There was a third document attached in this assignment called Items Sold in West Africa. I want you to read and go more in detail, trying to read this on your own to find the importance. So the first item would be gold. So you're going to type gold and then write me one sentence telling me what is the importance of gold. Okay. Try not to come up with things on your own because I know we can just use common sense. Oh, it's because it's, important. I want you to actually read and see what they say on this reading. Okay. Then you get to the second item and it says salt, ivory. And I want you to go through this and give me one sentence on the sheet telling me why is that item important. Okay. You do that for every single one. Once you're done with that part, you turn that in. Lastly, I went over, because this is what you're doing independently, there are 3 reading assignments. Some are easier than others. So most of them have a PDF, which is where you read, and then questions. So for example, Ghana, if I open this up, there's 12 questions about Ghana. To find the answers, I open up this PDF, and most of the answers are in order. So look at things like the title. That should help you answer it. If you get really, really stuck, you can use the internet to look things up, but I recommend the reading because it's a little bit more specific. You have that for Ghana, you have it for Mali, and then Songhay. Songhay is the same, but it looks a little different. I just put it all in one Google Doc, and this one you'll like. It's only 2 questions. So you just scroll to the bottom and answer those 2 questions. Everything is due by Friday. I have office hours tomorrow and classes today. Feel free to pop in if you need help. All right, bye guys.